and back in the bag again. Whoa, whoa, yeah, yeah.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Splash City Basketball Podcast, your go-to basketball podcast. We're diving deep into the game that matters most to Minnesotans in the land of 10,000 lakes. I am your host, Steve Hartman. The Wolves fall to Denver 116-105 in Game 1 of the NBA playoffs. I'll break down what I liked, what I didn't like, and what I think the Wolves need to do in Game 2 to come away with a win and even up that series. But before we tip today's episode, make sure to take a minute. If you wouldn't mind, follow Splash City Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts like Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. Really appreciate you listening. Really appreciate your following the podcast and leaving comments, leaving a review when you get a chance. You can even listen to the podcast on your connected device like Amazon Alexa. All right, the Wolves battled yesterday in Game 1. It came out hot, got off to a 10-point lead, but the Nuggets rally, and they were too much for the Wolves in Game 1. Let's get into it. All right, the Wolves fell into the trap that they've fallen into most of the year. A little bit lack of, maturity, mental toughness. Again, complaining about the calls, complaining about the officials. Jaden McDaniels gets a technical foul. Julius Randle gets a technical foul. Just kind of some of the things offensively, ball movement wise, struggle with. There were some positives though, and I want to start there with the positive. Going into the series in my last episode, I talked about Rudy Gobert legacy series, being able to play Jokic one-on-one, and I thought for the most part, Rudy looked like that defensive player of the year that he's been 4 times. He forced 4 Joker turnovers in the first quarter alone. Thought he was active defensively. He finished with a double-double, 17 points on 8 of 9 shooting. No block shots in this game, but I think that was more how Jokic didn't really go at him directly one-on-one too often. And, Rudy held up. I know Jokic had a triple-double, 25 points, but I think when, as you're watching the game early, especially, Rudy was active. His hands were active. He was making life difficult for Joker. So overall, I really thought Rudy played a great game on both ends of the court. He took 9 shots and made 8 of them. I think if you can get that kind of production every game from Rudy, you're going to take it. 2 assists, so he goes over his assist number. I think the over-under on his assist was 0.5. He played well in all facets. I would like to see them get him more involved early. And this is kind of indicative of the entire game, but he took 1 shot in the first. He took 5 shots in the second, 0 in the third, and 3 in the fourth. Like, there's no consistency amongst the players in terms of shots taken. Jaden McDaniels is very similar when you look at when his shots came and when they dry up. And I think that's where you see the Wolves struggle a little bit. And so, again, thought Rudy did a great job defensively. They kind of had the I think defensive philosophy of guard him one-on-one when Rudy's in the game, and he held up. I think going into the game, if you thought Murray and Jokic would combine for 55 points, I would take that. I think holding Denver to 116 is a winning formula for the Wolves defensively. Defensively was not their issue today in this game. I think if you can hold Denver to 116, most nights in this series, you're going to feel pretty good about your chances. My second positive takeaway from this game was I love the way Donte, DiVincenzo, and Dosunmu played. I thought their energy, both offensively and defensively, was fantastic. Donte transition defense breaks up a 2-on-1 that would have led to a dunk in, I think it was the third or fourth quarter. Io had a similar play early, actually, where he broke up a fast break, turns around, looks at his teammates, and he's asking, where is everybody? I think those 2 guys defensively, their effort, their energy was good. I know Jamal Murray had a pretty big game, but honestly, Murray had 30 points, but he only shot 7 of 22. So Murray made a living. He had over half his points at the free throw line, which some of those extremely questionable. The call on Jaden early with the 3-pointer where they called a flagrant. He gets his 3 free throws there. There was a couple other plays that kind of stood out as questionable calls. I know Coach Finch was not happy with the officiating, especially on Murray. Um, the Wolves shot 19 free throws as a team, and Murray shot 16 by himself. And I wouldn't say many of those were overly aggressive. Um, Side note, kind of a tangent. We were talking, watching the game yesterday at Back Channel Brewing. Again, great place to watch a game. But we were talking about how what's interesting in the NBA right now is all these guys, SGA does it and Luka does it, but you're on the bounce and you get any kind of contact, any bump. It's not a foul. They don't call the foul on the drive until you go in your shooting motion. So my question becomes, why is it not a foul when you're dribbling, but it is when you're shooting? Um, that to me doesn't square. So the NBA, I think, just on an officiating perspective, like needs to figure that out. Like just because you go into a shooting motion, if there wasn't a foul up until that point and you go and shoot the ball and there's contact on the drive, I don't understand how that can be a foul. Anyway, side discussion. I love Donte. I love Io. Donte, he was 4 of 9, 4 for 7 from three. I felt like there were opportunities where he should have probably got the ball more. Again, when you look at his field goal attempts, he goes 2 for 2 in the first. He gets one shot in the second quarter and he makes it. So he's 3 of 3 from three at that point. Third quarter, he takes four and he's 1 for 4. But again, 1 for 2 from three. And then late in the fourth, he missed his 2 3-pointers. So I would like to see them get these guys going, get more rhythm with Donte. Io, again, I thought played a really strong game. 28 minutes. Wouldn't be shocked to see him be the top scorer, minute getter off the bench. Just with Naz Reid's shoulder, it looks like he's struggling a little bit. And so, I thought overall Io played well, 5 for 10 from the field. He didn't get a rebound, which is I think a little bit rare for him, just because he is a pretty good rebounding guard. But strong game from Io, and I think if the Wolves can get that kind of effort from Io and Donte, where you're getting, 26 points out of those two guys, that's a good formula. I think the difference right now for the Wolves is that Naz Reid's not giving you a whole lot, and I think that's going to be a problem because I think they probably need to outscore Denver's bench. It was 22. I think Wolves had 22 off the bench. Nuggets had 20. So you know you're kind of looking for Naz Reid to give you double figures almost every night, and he just doesn't have it right now. I don't know if it's the shoulder, but he looked out of sorts kind of from the start. 5 points, 2 for 6, only played 17 minutes. Committed some fouls, 4 fouls for Nas. So your spark off the bench is Io right now. We used to count on Nikhil Alexander-Walker and Naz Reid. And then it was Nante and Naz Reid, and now it's Io and Naz Reid, and you got to get more than probably 5 from Naz Reid to feel good in this series. So, Io, I think Donte are key to this series. I think, especially if you can get more opportunities for Donte when he's got it going, they got to be able to find him. I think what we're seeing with this team is that there is an element of gotta get mine. And I haven't shot in a while. And when Donte he comes out 3 for 3 on threes, like why is he not getting more shots at that point? You had a 10-point lead, you know, that's gotta be when Aaron Gordon goes out with 2 fouls right away, that's gotta be a bigger lead than 10. And they just didn't have that shot selection, which I'll get to later. My third positive from this game is Jaden McDaniels' fast start. Like I love the way he came out of the gates. I think he's another guy that when you look at his shots, he gets 5 in the first quarter, makes 3 of them, being aggressive. He's got 10 points in the first quarter, takes a single shot in the second, and I think it's a fast break dunk that he got off a steal. Why is he leading you in scoring in the first quarter and then getting only a single shot in the second? I realize he maybe didn't play as many minutes. He played 8 in the second, but playing 8 minutes and getting one field goal attempt for Jaden McDaniels is not the way. And then in the third, he goes 2 for 6. And in the fourth quarter, he gets one. Again, I do not understand, and I think this is gonna be one of the negatives is just like the struggles they have consistently moving the basketball, finding the right play, getting the teammates involved. Um, so Jaden, I thought played pretty well. He finished with 8 rebounds, which is great from him. That to me, that's the barometer of Jaden's activity. When he's getting rebounds, he's playing well. So 16 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. He was only 6 for 14, but like I said, he started 3 for 5. So he goes 3 for 9 the rest of the way, and I think a lot of that is the shots he's getting. He missed him and Nas both, I think, missed a couple near the hoop in the paint that were probably shots they normally make. So you'll live with that. But um, Jaden's going to have opportunities this series. He was the X factor, according to Andrew Dukowitz on the last pod, the preview pod. And I think he was right. Like when he came out of the gates blazing, I thought, yep, this is 100% the game plan. They're going to put 2 on Anthony Edwards. You got to move the ball, get Jaden going downhill, get him comfortable, get him in a rhythm. And they did to start. And then they went away from it. And he took 1 shot in the second quarter, just really couldn't find a rhythm. Um, and when you look at the shots for the other guys, that's kind of the story of this game. I think the Wolves are going to be better off if Edwards and Randall aren't leading them in shot attempts. I think I mean, they will lead them in shot attempts, but I think these other guys need the ball more, and I think they need to trust them more. Like Rudy getting 9 field goal attempts is great because he's going to make 7 or 8 of them. Donte probably needed more than 9 after he starts 3 for 3. I'd love to see Jaden get a few more shot attempts as well. So love Jaden, love his game. Of course, the technical late the push on Joker, I don't understand it. I don't know what that accomplishes. He literally just scored, and then you give them points right back. And when you're down, I don't know what goes through your mind to do that, but he needs to not do that and do the things he was doing in the first quarter, driving hard to the basket. He shot 4 free throws in the first quarter. He shot 4 free throws for the game. So the Wolves can complain all they want about the free throw attempt and disparity, and I think some of it's warranted. But you, as an offense, you need to be more aggressive. Randall needs to go to the basket. Jaden needs to go to the basket, and Ant needs to get to the basket. That everybody knows that's the formula to attack Denver's defense. And when you take fadeaway jumpers, um, the ball doesn't move side to side and you're just jacking shots, that ain't the formula. So Jaden got 4 free throws in the first quarter because he was being aggressive. The ball was moving and he was attacking. They need more of that. They need to find that more consistently in game 2. And when things do start to bog down, like they did in the second and third quarter, you got to get back to that quicker. It can't take 6 or 8 minutes before you realize we need to start attacking again. It needs to happen after 2 possessions. So I want to see more Jaden consistently through the game, getting shots off the swing, whatever that looks like. I think the other thing that I like, I mentioned it a little bit with Jaden getting rebounds. He finishes with 8. Anthony Edwards finished with 9. On TV, you could see him wincing sometimes when he came down off a rebound and his knee was bugging him, obviously. Um, but if you can get 17 rebounds from Ant and Jaden, that's a good sign for the team that their activity is strong. So um, overall numbers, they have 43 rebounds. Denver had finished with 47. So you're in the ball game. Obviously, Jokic is going to clean up a ton of those, but Rudy had 10. So I think part of it is just field goal percentage, right? That's indicative of making shots. The Wolves actually shot a little bit better from the field. They shot and made 1 more 3, had a higher percentage on threes, but really the difference was the free throw line, where the Nuggets go 30 for 33 and the Wolves are 14 for 19. So, but I think that's again crashing the boards, getting easy buckets, attacking the rim, knowing that Denver doesn't have a way to slow you down there. Um, They just don't. Aaron Gordon is probably their best rim protector, but he's going to be guarding Julius, sometimes on the perimeter or Jaden. on the perimeter. So I think there's things that you can get at the rim which could drive up your free throw percentage in that regard. So just to recap, my four positives for game one: Rudy Gobert, overall game, strong offensively, defensively, looked the part of as good as anybody can be guarding Jokic. Donte and Io really like the way they brought it. Would love to see that Donte get a few more shots if he's making them early, which he was. Jaden McDaniels, fast start. Got to find a way to keep him involved. He needs at least 2 or 3 shots a quarter, not 5 and then 1. I don't think that's going to keep him involved. And then our guard rebounding, Ant and Jaden getting after the glass, just being kind of team rebounding overall was a positive. So let's flip over to the negative side. What kind of slowed them down? And I think some of it were things that we saw all year. I think the biggest thing going into the series I said was Ant's health. And he just doesn't look the same. He had moments, again, he had 5 attacks at the rim. He was 5 for 5 at the rim. And I don't know if that bothers his knee more, and that's why he's settling for jump shots. But you could tell if he could get to the basket, it was easy money. I mean, he was finishing around the rim. I just don't really understand why he goes away from that unless it's a health thing, which it very well could be. But defensively, not great for Ant, but offensively, we just got to stop settling for jump shots. I mean, it's just so obvious. It was obvious going into the series. It's even more obvious after watching game one. He's 5 for 5 at the rim, and he's 4 for 14 everywhere else. I mean, it's pretty simple. And if it's his knee, then I don't know what to do. But there are points where the offense got bogged down, and he's dribbling and dribbling and dribbling, and then he shoots like a fadeaway 20-footer 3-pointer, which again, we all know Ant can make those shots when he's cooking, when he's on, but it just wasn't there yesterday. So I would love to see him get downhill more, get to the basket more. He played 38 minutes. Feel like maybe some of those minutes could have gone to someone else. I don't know who it is, if it's Bones or if it's TJ Shannon or what it is, but like Ant just doesn't have the juice right now. And again, I don't know if that's his knee or what's going on, but I mean, he had 22 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. When you look at the statistics, he had only a -3 rating, so he was actually pretty good. But I don't know if there's anything they can do to like get him down to 35 minutes and just he's more explosive in those minutes so that he can get to the rim. Or if he just accepts that and moves the ball more, I think we're fine. I actually think when the ball was moving and swinging, they were good. So maybe he's more of a decoy in game two. Maybe you're getting a little bit better shot selection. Can you still get your 22 and take it on 15 shots and 10 of them are at the rim rather than 5 at the rim? I think that would be a huge swing for the Wolves if Ant can get downhill to the basket with more frequency. And when he's not doing that, he's spraying it and he's moving the ball, or because when he gets the ball out of his hands and it swings, it eventually gets back to him. But maybe it's off a Jaden attack and it's a kick out for an open 3 with your feet set, and you don't have to put as much pressure on your body to take a hard contested 3 late in a shot clock or something. So I think that's the biggest thing. Like if Ant's not Ant, if he doesn't have the burst and the energy because he's ailing a little bit, it's going to be hard to win the series. It just is. Like you need your best players to play their best in the playoffs, especially to beat a team as good as Denver, who has 2 of the best offensive players in basketball. They need Ant healthy. So it's a big worry for me. I think they can manage it. I think there's ways around it, but that would be number one negative for me in this game is after a week off, he still didn't quite look like himself. Second thing that concerned me was shot selection. I've kind of talked about it a lot, but the Wolves just fell in love with these jump shots. And I feel like that's what Denver wants, especially Julius Randle, to do. Like they know they don't have shot blockers behind. Um, the Wolves need to attack. You see glimpses like Julius and in the or the high post, kind of the elbow area, catch and then just go to the basket. Got to have more of that. You got to have more Ant to the basket, Jaden to the basket. Like nobody on Denver is going to block Jaden going to the basket. Like they just aren't. So the Wolves, you got Donte who was making threes yesterday. You got Io who had 3 for 7 from three. Like there's going to be guys who are in a groove from three, but you can't just force those threes. Like Denver wants you to do that. So I think settling too much, me and my buddies always talk about, oh, the Wolves are chucking. Um, if you're in a rhythm and you feel like you got it, fine. Like you got to take some jump shots. There's no, like, you can't just do one thing in the NBA. These guys are too good. But man, there was a lot of possessions in that third quarter where it was dribble, 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 fade away mid range, dribble, 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 fade away three. And that just can't happen. Like it, one or two possessions, and that's why you saw Mike Conley get in the game when he did, because Finch is looking for that guy to pass the ball. There was a couple times where Conley would catch it and he was immediately moving it because he knows that ball needs to get to the other side. He knows that ball needs to move. And so I think if Ant and Julius specifically are going to catch it, pound it, hold it, the Wolves are going to be in some trouble. They got to find more ways to get that ball popping. Maybe it's off a transition and immediately it swings the other side and they can get something going. But the one pass and shot possessions, the ball's sticky, like these are all things that we've talked about for years with this team, and Finch talks about it, the players talk about it. And I think that's what's so frustrating is to see that, all we heard was flipping the switch, Wolves are turning it on in the playoffs. Um, Turning it on also means executing, and turning it on means staying focused on the game plan. And in game one, I just don't think they had that. There was just a lot of things that you could see early in the game. They had some energy. They were forcing turnovers. I said, if we win fast break points, we're going to have a better chance because that means our defense is more active. We're forcing turnovers and we're getting out in transition, right? Obviously getting defensive rebounds. And the fast break points were tied 14-14. So we don't win that advantage. We don't win the turnover advantage. We weren't terrible with the turnovers. I think Denver averages 12 and they had 13. We had 13. I'll take us having 13 turnovers, but you got to turn that into something more positive with your offensive possessions than we did. Third thing, negative, I thought, again, same thing we've seen. Just way too much complaining about the officials. You could see Naz Reid, you could see Jaden get so frustrated, and it's so obvious and it's so apparent when it's going to happen. We need those guys locked in, focused on the game, moving on. And I know it's who they are, and you're not going to just change it overnight. But man, you just can't do these things. It's frustrating at times, 100%. But those are things that they got to move on from. You got to play the game. All right. So let's move on to game two. What do I think needs to happen in game two? I mean, it's not going to be a surprise if you've been listening at all. They got to get more aggressive at the rim. They just do. They got to punish Joker. They got to punish Valanciunas when he's in there. Um, you know, Ant was 5 for 5 inside the restricted area. Randall was 6 for 10 in the paint and 1 of 6 outside the paint. Those two specifically need to get past that initial defender and get downhill. And it doesn't have to be to score, but if Ant is 5 for 5 at the rim, you're gonna bet they're collapsing. At some point, you're gonna have to. You got to rotate. You got to slow that down. But when you go away from it, they don't feel like, okay. I think the Nuggets are smart enough to say, like, we don't believe that Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle can stick with that focus for the entirety of the game. I think they're betting on them settling. So those guys need to get downhill. Jaden needs to get there. Io also is another guy that can do that. So if the Wolves take I would say if Edwards and Randall get more than half of their shots combined from the paint or restricted area, the Wolves are going to win. Um, we'll see if they can do it for a full 48 minutes. I still think Kyle, I know he's not like your typical key player, but man, if Julius is going to struggle with that defensive intensity and Naz Reid looks kind of hurt still, I think we need more Kyle Anderson because first of all, he's a guy that will move the ball. He doesn't have to be worried about his shot getting blocked. So again, he gets to the paint. He can make those little 8 to 10 foot shots in the paint. He moves the ball faster. He can facilitate from the high post. He'll throw the lob to Rudy. That pass that Randall had yesterday, pick and roll with Rudy, and he throws it right at his ankles or his knees. It's like that is never a place that Rudy's going to catch that pass. It's just not. So it's a matter of, do the Wolves trust Kyle to play 15 minutes on Gordon, or if he's in the game, will he play against Jokic when Rudy's out of the game? I mean, that's a discussion that I'm sure Finch and the staff will have, but I just think when you're in a game where ball movement's an issue and assignments and execution is an issue, Kyle Anderson does those things well. He may not do everything well, but he does those two things well. So I'm thinking maybe we might see 15 plus minutes of Kyle Anderson game 2. And then the last adjustment that the Wolves could make is just getting a little bit smaller and faster. Outside of Aaron Gordon and Jokic, there aren't a ton of guys on Denver's lineup that you're worried about size and getting to the rim. Cam Johnson's more of a catch and shoot guy. Tim Hardaway's a catch and shoot guy. Will they get out and transition and get to the rim? Sure. But in the half court, that's not their game. I wouldn't be shocked to see more Io and Donte lineups in the backcourt with maybe Jaden and Rudy in the 4 and 5, or maybe it's Kyle and Nas together at the 4 or 5. Just more pace, more speed, more attacking, more opportunities to break down Denver's half court defense. Those are the things that I'm thinking could be adjusted quicker in game 2. I thought Mike played great minutes in game 2 or game 1. Kind of did what you need Mike to do. He moves the ball. He made a corner 3. That's all you're going to ask for from Mike Conley at this point in his career. But Bones, maybe that's another guy. He looked a little lost in game 1. Maybe game 2 he looks a little more comfortable and could come in and get something going, get hot. I mean, he's one of those guys, right? That if he comes in and makes his first shot, it's going to open the floodgates a little bit for Bones. Bones only played 5 minutes, but I just feel like with Nas right now not looking healthy, and Julius, you never know what effort you're going to get. Like, you're going to need more bench guys to give you some juice. So maybe it's TJ Shannon getting a run. He looked fantastic the last couple games of the year, and I think probably deserves some time at this point. And we know Finch doesn't love playing younger guys in the playoffs, especially. But those are my thoughts, at least for game 2. Like, we'll see what they come back with. They were certainly competitive in game 1. They had chances. Even late in the fourth quarter, they had a chance to, I think they had it down to 4 at one point. And so, that third quarter just killed them. You got outscored by, I think it was 12 points in the third quarter. Kind of hard to overcome that. When you're tied at halftime and they just come out in the third quarter and kind of punish you, and you're taking bad shots. That's what it comes down to. Wolves should not have a problem scoring 115, 120 points a game against this Denver defense, but comes down to shot selection and moving the basketball. It's simple things. It seems repetitive, but it's been this team's downfall for how many years? So want to see more aggression, get to the basket, get to the free throw line, punish the smaller Nuggets inside, and see what happens. Might open up some things on the perimeter, but Denver certainly didn't play a perfect game either. They didn't score their average points per game. Gordon was in foul trouble. They didn't get a ton off their bench either. Tim Hardaway only had 7. Bruce Brown had 8. Brown actually probably played the best from the bench guys. 5 steals. So I think, the Wolves need to figure out they have enough weapons, but they need to be able to trust certain guys in certain moments to say, like, hey, you got the matchup here. You can beat your guy, but how are you going to beat him is kind of, up for debate, it seems like, when it shouldn't be. So I'd love to see Jaden get more touches, just consistent touches. Like, if he's been so efficient all year shooting the basketball. I mean, he was a 45% 3-point shooter for a while. I think he's still over 40. He's a 50% shooter from the field. Get him 20 shots. Brown's going to be on Ant. Christian Brown, Bruce Brown are going to be on Ant. Jaden's got Cam Johnson or Jamal Murray guarding him, or Tim Hardaway Jr. guarding him. Like, Jaden should win those matchups, and they need to trust their teammates, move the ball, find the open guy, find the attack lane, find a gap, and get there. I don't think defense was the issue in game one. I think the defense held up despite Murray scoring 30, 16 of them at the free throw line. Maybe you get a friendlier whistle in game two and things flip. So it's not over by any means. 1-0 on the road in Denver. You come home with a split. You got to feel great about it. We'll see what happens in game two. Appreciate y'all listening. Looking forward to having some more guests on as we get further into playoffs. And hopefully Monday night, Wolves can get that game too, and we come back to Minnesota tied up. And we'll have another show probably Monday night after game two, probably Tuesday morning. So watch for that as we go through the playoffs. And I appreciate, again, you listening. This has been the Splash City Basketball Podcast.
Back in that bag.